Hello YouTube. If you aren't already aware, Sindarov just became the champion of the Chess World Cup, and yesterday Yesipenko beat Yakuboev to clinch the last candidate spot. So we have all our candidates confirmed. Hikaru and Prague is still tentative, but they should make it through to the candidates. So in the next few months, I'll be making a series of videos aimed to build up to the candidates. So I'll be making videos on games played by each of the candidates, games which I think are instructive, fun, or entertaining in general. And for this game, I found it in this magazine. If you're based in England, I would recommend you get this magazine. It's very instructive. And the game was played a few months ago in Dortmund. So if you enjoyed this video, please don't hesitate to leave a like and subscribe, because it goes a long way for motivation and just to help out with the channel. We have Matthias playing with the white pieces, and he opens the game. His opponent responds with knight f6. He plays c4, e6. So from this point, if you're playing with the white pieces, the choice of which knight to bring out to the game depends on the opponents you're trying to avoid. If you're someone who's not keen on playing the Nimzo-Indian, then you play knight f3, because with knight f3 there's no bishop's check on there, because the knight isn't there to take the knight. But if you're someone who's willing to embrace the complexities of openings like the Nimzo-Indian, the Grunfeld, even if it's not applicable in this position, not quite, but in general, if you're looking to embrace the complications of the Grunfeld, the Nimzo-Indian, then you bring out this knight. And that's what Matthias does. He invites his opponent to play the Nimzo-Indian, and his opponent obliges. He goes bishop to b4. He pins this knight. We have a series of conventional mainline moves. He castles his king. He asks the bishop the question, are you going to take my knight, or are you going to go back? Well, in many lands, the bishop takes the knight because that's what it's come there for. It didn't come all the way there to drop back. Although it's also a move as well in the database, but in the conventional Nimzo-Indian mainlines, you take this knight and then you build up your pawn structure in a way that complements the one bishop you have left. So he took the knight, he took back. As you can see, he's reinforcing the fact that he doesn't have a dark squared bishop anymore. So he puts his pawns on there. Potentially, you could see moves like c5 and b6. He's going to put everything like this, where he complements the one bishop he has left. And the knight goes there. It's very interesting to just explain for a brief moment why the knight isn't going to f3 and is going to e2 in this position. Because from an f3, Nimzovich, who oddly enough this opening is named after. I'm going to say a few words on Nimzovich, but just to explain this knight moves. Nimzovich once said, pawns have a desire to expand. And if this knight is on f3, this knight is stifling this guy's desire to expand. This guy wants to push up to potentially play f4, f5. And with the knight being there, you're going to have to move the knight again to get this one moving up the board. So the knight from e2, it looks a bit odd, but the idea is to go over there. So you support e4, and you also support the break with f4, f5. So yeah, this is the Nimzo-Indian. Just a few words on Nimzovich. He was known to be one of the best players, top 5 players in his day in the 1920s, I believe, around then. And he wrote a very seminal book called Mind System, which I would recommend everyone have a look, especially if you're interested in like a historical perspective of how players in those days approached the game. And Nimzovich was considered to be quite controversial and eccentric, because his approach to chess wasn't what the classical approach was, where in a classical approach, you're considered to control the center or occupy the center. Your pawns must occupy the center, then your pieces sort of work around the occupation of the center. Whereas Nimzovich had a different perspective of chess. He wanted to control the center with his pieces, and not really by occupying the center, but by exerting pressure on the center from afar. So in openings like the King's Indian, you see a bishop sniping down along the center, exerting pressure instead of occupying the center. So it's just a very interesting perspective on how one approach to chess fights against the other. And in openings like this, it gets very sharp, because it's a contrast between one idea of occupation and another idea of, okay, you take the center, I'm going to attack the center in the long run. And eventually, whoever plays the best way, your idea wins. And that's what chess is all about. So he stacks the center with c5. And yeah, so just a few words on this structure. If we take stock of the position, we can see that white has the two bishops, which is considered to be an advantage, but or it could be an advantage. It's not inherently an advantage. It could be an advantage, but it depends on the position itself. And as you can see, black is aiming to keep the structure just shut, compact and shut to negate the advantage of having the two bishops. And this one doesn't strike fear in anyone, well, yet. And as you can see, white has a weakness on there, which could be easily attacked. And white could attack this with knight to a5. And white doesn't really have a good way to defend this because your queen is the most powerful piece on the board. She wields so much authority. You don't want to resign your queen to a4 just to hold on to this, especially if your plan is to attack on this side of the board with e4, f4, f5. Your queen shouldn't be going to a4 to hold on to this. Your queen should be there where you can sort of support any attack on the king side. So we've got e4. The knight goes to a5. And now white has won a pawn, but white has compensation in the fact that white is going to play in a very dynamic way. White isn't going to allow black to consolidate the fact that he's just up a pawn. Because if you do that, then you just lose because you just down a pawn. And at this level of the game, that's like you're lost in most situations. So you're going to see white is going to play very, very dynamically. So they exchange off. He plays f5. h6 is a move I don't quite like, but perhaps you can say he's trying to stop bishop to g5 with a possible idea of e5. But I think if you're afraid of that, isn't it probably best to play e5 instead to stop white from playing e5 himself? Because h6 sort of gives white a possible hook for the attack. But I don't know. He's a grandmaster, and I am just a bum. So we're gonna go with his move h6. H6. Rook to b1. He takes the half open file. And yeah, I'm going to quote Nimzo-Indian a lot in this video because I recently read his book, Mind System. And Nimzo-Indian had this idea where with an open file, why they say rooks belong on open files or half open files is even if there isn't anything to attack on this file could be exploited in an indirect way to get this rook elsewhere where it's going to be very active. This rook wants to be on the king side, possibly to mate the king. So from this file, it's not necessarily attacking anything, but the idea in many lines could be to swing this rook up this way and around, because there's an attack on this pawn, so you can't really move your bishop out of the way without losing this pawn. So rook there is a lot more flexible because then you can play for this and to swing the rook across. Alternatively, black is up a pawn, so what black should aim to do is to consolidate, and but white has to play energetically, not to give white enough, not to give black a few moves to enable him to get all his pieces into the game. So e5, he shuts it down. He plays there. Knight to a5, knight to h5 is a interesting move because this knight is the main defender of the king side. With this knight being there, you're not going to have any attack because your knight is there. Even if your queen goes there, there isn't a way to coordinate your pieces in a proper way to lead to an attack. But with knight h5, you're threatening to take this knight. And if the knight takes you, you take back. Then you can flick in f6. And if f6 lands, it's going to massively destabilize the king side for black. And so he plays knight to a5. And yeah, this move is very interesting because, as we said initially, the plans for white is to get this rook up and above this way. But with this knight going there, it has two ideas. One, it stops this rook in the interim from going up and above. And also, if black is given enough moves, black is going to consolidate by going knight to b7, knight to c5. And with the knight on c5, you're not going to actually... Black is just better in the position. So white has to keep up the energy to prevent black from achieving his plans of going to b7 and to c5 to just consolidate everything in the position. So we have queen f3. So yeah, he plays f6 himself because you know, like I said earlier, you don't want to allow f6 land, because if f6 lands, it's going to be disastrous. So he plays f6 himself, but in doing so, he's giving white access to g6, and the queen lands there, and white wins back a pawn. So white is no longer down in material, and white has an attack. So this was where when I first saw this game, because I'm a bit of a perfectionist in a way. I was thinking, obviously, white's threatening mate. What's the best way to stop mate? Is it rook to c7, rook to f7, or queen there? And yeah, if you know which one is best, and if you can explain to me why which one is the best move, then please do so in the comment section, because I wasn't able to figure out quite which move is the best move and why it's the best move. In the game, the engine says this one is the best move, but I don't understand why, and I don't understand why there's such a significant difference between the move he played, which is rook there, and this rook being there. So if you can please enlighten me in the comment section, because I would also like to learn myself. So that's going to be very helpful. Thank you. So yeah, he played this one, which the engine considers to be worse. The engine prefers this move, but like I said, I can't seem to understand why that's the best move and not this one. Perhaps you can say this one is a lot more flexible because it could allow the queen to go on there, but I don't know. Well, since you can't get this rook up and above, you can get the other one up above. So yeah, black king has to make a run for it, because being on this file, there's a lot of heat going on there, and if the king doesn't move, dangerous things will happen. So the bishop drops back because it was being attacked, and it attacks the knight attacks the bishop. And this was a very instructive move for me when I first saw this game, because I was thinking, okay, where do you move the bishop once again? Like, this was where chess as a game is quite fascinating to me, because I was thinking, where do I want to move the bishop? Well, he played the better move, which is e1, the best move. And then I realized from e1, the bishop is so flexibly placed where it's centralized on one hand, and by being centralized, the bishop is able to be activated in multiple ways. If required, it can always help out on the queen side. Obviously, there's nothing happening there now, but if required, it can always go there. But most importantly, the bishop could also help out on the king side as well. So the bishop can flick itself there, or you can swing itself there if there's action happening there. So from e1, it's just so centralized in a way where it can assist in operations on both sides of the board. So yeah, I don't quite like. Obviously, black has this one, which looks dangerous, and but the issue is you need 4 moves to get this down there, and the fact that black is just so huddled up, like the king is stuck there, the rook is stuck there defending this one, the queen has to be there, and even if the queen isn't there, there isn't much to do. Yeah, black is so huddled up, and black has hedged all his stocks on this guy, but it takes an awfully long time. 4 moves in chess is very long. It takes a long time for this guy to march all the way down, and your hope is hopefully I don't get mated or something worse doesn't happen before this one goes 1, 2, 3, 4. So yeah, the bishop goes to f2 because it wants to help this rook to gain access in there, and the rook gains access. The black rook has to block, or else you lose your queen. But I'm thinking whether black could actually sacrifice the queen. You take, and then you push this guy. I don't know. That doesn't seem right. That doesn't seem right because black can take this one, isn't it? White can take. Yeah, that doesn't seem right. So he blocks. The rook goes back. Now Nimzo once again. I know this is gonna sound a bit repetitive, but Nimzo in his book My System has a whole section dedicated on rook invasion on the 7th and 8th rank, and the rook has invaded the back rank, and together with the queen, they're going to have some significant mating ideas against this king. So he pushes. Now he's only 2 moves away. It seems like you're so close, but as you're going to see, so close, but yet so far. 2 moves in chess is so long. It takes an awfully long time to achieve 2 moves, especially when your opponent is Matthias. Obviously, at that level of the game, to get 2 free moves, or even to get 1 free move to just push this guy, it takes so long. So he sacrifices his rook. If you just go back in a position for 1 second, it seems like everything is okay for black. Like the king is sufficiently defended by 5 points of material, 10 points of material, 19 points of material, defending this king on a single rank. I don't know. I don't think I've ever seen a king this defended in my life, because the king has everything on the same rank. Then there's this whole structure around the king. So from a visual point of view, you could say, oh, black is fine, there's no attack. But that's why, as I said, I think I said this in the first video I did on Maurice Ashley, or in a vid before that. Illusions in chess is destroyed by a significant skill, which is calculation. If you can calculate your way, you're going to destroy so many of these visual illusions where it seems like one side is fine, but with concrete evaluation of the position, they're just lost. And which is what he does. He sacrifices his rook, and the idea is the queen wants to go behind to mate this guy. So this rook has already invaded the back rank. So the idea is to deflect this rook away. So when the queen goes there, well, I'm not going to spoil it yet. You're going to see. Rook takes, the queen invades. Well, yeah, the rook goes back. You're like, okay, it seems okay. What does white have? It doesn't seem like white has anything. And in 2 moves, I'm just going to make a new queen and shake hands and win the game. But remember this bishop. The bishop, I said, doesn't make anyone afraid. This is why, in many ways, it's much better to have a bishop than a knight, because even if a bishop is bad now, in a few moves or in the long run, that bishop could be tremendously strong. And the fact that they're so fleet-footed, they can move so fast, gives them an edge over the knights, where if a knight is there, it takes so long to get this knight somewhere there to do something. But bishops are so fast that this bishop went there, won a pawn, came back there, attacked this knight, dropped back there, help this rook get there, and now the bishop is going to help mate the king. Bishop goes to h4. Once again, you can't push this guy, because why? If you push this, the bishop sacrifices itself, the MVP, with check, and after rook takes, the queen slides up. The queen slides up, and if rook goes back, you get mated by f6. So this bishop is the MVP of this game, in my opinion. It's done a tremendous job. There, and now h4. Well, he goes rook b8 because you can't allow ideas of mate on the back rank. He's trying to get rid of some of the pressure. But it's way too late now. At this point, the game is so far gone. You can just take this. Like, if you're a simple guy like myself, I'm just gonna take this and find a way to stop this guy and win the game. But Matthias, being a candidate and being a brilliant chess player that he is, found the even much more precise and the most aesthetic way to do it. He sacrificed the bishop anyways. So bishop takes f6. Well, the rook has to take. Now the queen goes up with check. The king has to make a run, because once again, if you block f6, let me just show you. If you block f6, The king goes to d8. Now, not this, because if you play this, the king runs there and you lose. You have to go either g8 or h8 first with check to force the king there, and only now do you take this guy. So you can't do that. So that's why the king ran instead. But after this, it's somewhat a lot more easier to see how black wins this. You just take this rook. If the king goes up, you sacrifice the other rook again, because, well, he resigned in this position. But if the king takes this rook, then the queen takes the queen with check, and this pawn isn't going anywhere. It needs 2 moves, and in those 2 moves, the queen is going to check this king in some way and win this guy. A sample line could be something like this. The queen takes, say the king goes death, for example, just like a sample line. You can check on there. Well, that's not even the best move, but I'm just trying to find this. You could go c6 first, king a5, and then you can win this knight, you can win this guy, you win everything. So yeah, he didn't want to just sit there and suffer and lose everything, so he resigned after this move, rook to b7. And yeah, this is a brilliant game by Matthias. Let me know in the comments section with which candidates I should analyze next. My hunch is Esipenko, but at the end of the day, I'm a man who likes to follow what the people want. So if the people want another candidate first, I shall give you another candidate first before Esipenko. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Once again, if you did enjoy this video, or you learned something new or something instructive, please leave a like and subscribe. Thank you and have a good day.